Now, this morning we have some special guests with us. We have Pastor Hal, as normal, but we also have his older sister and his younger sister. She may not want me to say that, right, Kathy? So this morning we have Karen, we have Kathy, and we have Pastor Hal as usual. Now, we all know Pastor Hal pretty well, I think. We know his story. We know that he is the baby of this group. And Miss Kathy is the oldest of the group, and then there's Miss Karen. And they grew up in Mississippi. Did you spend most of your time in Kosciuszko? Is that where you spent most of your time? Oh, you didn't. So you were all over the place. Yeah. This morning what we're going to do is we're going to learn some things about these three folks. And we're going to also learn about their experiences with VBS, since this is VBS Sunday. So we're going to talk to them a little bit. The first thing I want to do, though, is I want to address this first question to both Kathy and Karen. Now, we all know Pastor Hal's story, his story of his career path and his family and all that. But I would maybe like for you guys to, let's start with Miss Kathy and just give us a little, some help with your family and your career path and all that. Oh, we forgot to give you your mics. We have two mics that we were going to give you.
Okay.
Okay, is it on?
It is.
Okay. Well, I'm the oldest, and there are 4 years between us, and then 4 years between them. And I decided early that I was going to be an art teacher. I was one of those that knew early because that was what I was told I was good at. And so I went to Mississippi College, where our father told us, if you went to Mississippi College, your world and your life would be wonderful. And so I believed him. And it was most of the time. And I majored in art, and I taught art. I was not as good an artist as I was teacher. And so that's what I did. And when I married and we had children, then I came home. But I volunteered as an art teacher for 17 years. And then, my father died. I didn't do very well when my father died. And so I went to counseling. Because as a Christian, you're supposed to have it all together, and I didn't have it all together. And so I went to a Christian counselor, and I found there a closer relationship with God through counseling. And that was my path. It's not everybody's path, but it was my path. And I decided that I love teaching art, but I wanted to get a degree. And so I got a master's in counseling, and I was a Christian counselor, and it was amazing. And so that's the career path I went.
What about your family?
My family? I have a husband for 44 years next week, and he is a physician. Thank you. That's another reason I went into counseling. So, because, that's not always easy, but it's good to stay there and work it out, and he's a good man. And so he's a physician. That's not always easy either. And so, because I'm a counselor and an art teacher, so I'm a little bit woo, and he's a scientist, and so, those kind of sometimes don't mix. But that's why we're together, because we're good for each other. And so then we have 3 children, daughter and 2 sons. She is an artist, and he is, the next one is wildlife biologist, and the next one is a physician assistant. And we have 5 grandchildren, 4 boys, and we finally got a granddaughter.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, Kathy. And how about you, Karen?
Well, my daddy always told us, if you're going to have to work, then you should be a teacher, so that your time, your hours would be the same as your children. Well, at first I was going to major in home ec because I thought I'd be at home and I wanted to stay home. But I found out that I was not going to be able to. So I went into education and became a teacher. And I married a coach. And so we went from school to school. We moved around a lot. And we had 2 children, 2 boys, and they are 5 years apart to the day. I just didn't have a girl, but I had 2 wonderful boys, and they are now married, and they have girls, so I have grandchildren that are girls. I have 4 now. I was married to him 29 and a half years, and things just didn't go well. So,
Oh, it's all right. It's all right.
I knew I would do this, and I'm sorry.
No, you're okay. You're fine.
But, I was taught that divorce was really bad, and so I stayed with him for 29 and a half years, and we tried to work it out, but verbal abuse is not fun, and it's a lot like, if not worse than physical. And so when it came to my children getting talked to that way, I just couldn't do it anymore. And when they went to college, there was nothing left. And we went to counseling over and over and over. And I tried, I begged him, there's nothing going to be left. But it just didn't seem to matter. So anyway, we divorced. And I met a wonderful man in church. And at first I ran because I thought he was crazy. And I wasn't ready for crazy. He was from New Orleans, and, I always thought that was the city of sin. So I thought, oh, no. But one day, God struck me over the head and said, wait a minute. He's a good guy, and he's fun, and he gives you laughter. So think about this. And he was a Christian, and he's a growing Christian. He did not grow up like I did, so we've got those differences, but God works those out for us. Mm-hmm. And it's been wonderful, and I think this is where I can say that I had a hard time with divorce because I thought I would go to hell. And one day God spoke to me, and not in a big, loud thunder or anything, but softly. I was going to my sister's house because she was letting me stay there for a little while, but only a week. I had to get something else in a week, but I did. She helped me. But God, I was crying and talking to God, and I said, God, you know what I've been through, and I love you, and I just want to know that you're still loving me. And he said, you're my child, and I'm not going to leave you. He said, I'm not like everybody else in this world. You will have people talk about you, yes, but I'm here. Just take my hand, and I will walk you through this, and we'll be okay. Mm-hmm. And after that, I knew I wasn't going to hell, and that he loved me, and I was okay. I still have, feelings of guilt and terrible doubts of, what did I do? Did I do right? Did I do wrong? But I did what I did, and God has been good. And so I like to share that with people to let you know that no matter what we do, God loves us, and he won't let us go.
That's right.
That's right.
Thank you.
How many of you know that God is a God of grace? God is a God of second chances. That's right. Listening to Kathy and Karen both talk, you hear that even though we are Christians, even though we're followers of Jesus, we still have struggles. We go through these times just like anybody else. The only difference is God is there with us, and he helps us walk through all that mess. So thank you, ladies, for sharing about your stories. I appreciate that. Now, on the lighter side, Kathy, you already answered my next question, which was, how did you go from an art teacher to a counselor? All right, so you've already answered that, but I have a question for Karen. I would like you to tell us the real story of what it was like to grow up with Hal as the baby brother. I want to know what he's really like.
Do you really want to know?
I do, and I think they want to know too.
Are you ready?
Be careful.
He was a great little brother. He really was. you know, we
Maybe I
spoiled
should
him.
ask Kathy this question. Kathy, can you tell? I'm
No,
sorry.
go ahead,
Go
Karen.
ahead.
Good.
Oh, well, I'm going to tell you what he did now, but it was all good. He really was. Now, he had times, he would spy on me when I had a date. I knew it. I'd catch him. He and his buddies caught turtles, and they kept them in a little cage in the backyard. Daddy would pick them up all the time, so he loved his turtles. But the main thing that I loved about my brother was he played dolls with me.
That explains some things, doesn't
I
it?
knew that was coming.
I
Yeah.
had to tell that because that's why he's a good daddy today, because I taught him everything.
Where you staying tonight?
But the best thing was I had this doll named Timmy, and she was about this tall. And I chewed her fingers off. She didn't have any fingers left. But we had this little foyer in our house in Hattiesburg. And I said, now, Hal, you get in that corner, and I'll get in this corner, and we'll take turns dancing with Timmy. And so he would dance with her for a little while, and I'd dance with her for a little while. I mean, it was great. I had a brother that played with me. And the paper dolls and the dolls, I don't really know what he said. I don't
That's
know
good. Yeah,
how he
that's
did
good.
it, but he played. So that was a great thing. Now, there were times when he would hit us. And Mama and Daddy would say, oh, he's just giving you a love pat. We want him to be a man now. It's okay. He just loves you. And we said, well, I don't know about that. But anyway, those were, just sometimes. But he was very good. He was a good brother. It was good for me to have him to play.
All right. So he was basically one of your dolls, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
He was a doll.
Now, since you ladies have had a chance to talk, I'm going to ask this question to all three of you, but I'm going to see if Pastor Hal will answer this first. So you've been Christians a long time. Do you have a favorite Bible character that maybe you can identify with that you want to share with us?
My favorite Bible character, of course, we automatically think of Jesus. He's our hero. He's our boss, our master. But I enjoy Joseph. I recently did a series on Joseph. I just appreciate the things that he walked through and the way he walked through them. And I would like to be like Jesus, but I'd like to be like Joseph too. So, yeah, Joseph.
If you had asked me a few years ago, it would have been David, because I heard a lot of great sermons on David. But I've changed to Joseph because of what he went through, and because now I'm 65, and life doesn't always give you what you thought. Actually, life's given me more than what I thought. But there have been difficult times. That's just life. And so when it doesn't turn out like you wanted in Joseph's life, you think, wait a minute, Lord, you said this was going to happen. But I trust him. That's the key, is to trust him, and Joseph did, and he waited, and he gives you what he said he was going to give.
Mine would be David, because I got Kathy's old one, but he's mine. He didn't always do the right thing, but he loved God, and God knew his heart, and he knew he wanted to do the right thing, and that he was, he just messed up a few times. But he loved him. He was a man of God's heart, and so that helps me, because I know, even though I mess up, God knows my heart, and he knows, and he loves me. So that's the way it is. I mean, God loves us. He knows our heart. It doesn't matter about our outside. He knows our inside, like David. So,
It's interesting. I thought for sure the ladies would say somebody like Ruth or Esther or Mary or something, but they all chose men. That's interesting. Miss Counselor, what does that mean? Just kidding. You don't have to answer that question. Now, this week, our VBS kids have been having a lot of fun. As you can see, they had all these great props. Don't these look great? Mm-hmm. Whoever did this, Mr. Bob and all the others, they did a great job, all right? So thank you for that. But they've been having a lot of fun this week and really enjoying playing games and crafts and learning the Word and talking about missions and all that stuff. I know that you guys grew up going to VBS. You had a Southern Baptist pastor as a dad. You had to go to VBS. So what was VBS fun to you? Did you have great experiences there? Do you have any memories you can share with us about how fun that was for you?
It was fun, but the main thing I remember is really odd. But I remember the song when we would go in, and y'all probably don't, well, the little ones don't know about this. But when we would go in, they would play the song. Let's see. Stand up, sit down. and so you would stand up, and then you would sit down. And that's what I remember the most.
I thought that was funny because I didn't remember, but it's like, oh yeah, stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down. I wish we still did that, but
stand up,
sit down.
Thank you.
Our mother was my favorite teacher because she was funny. You wonder where he gets it. Daddy was funny too, but our mother was funny, and so she was our favorite teacher. But I, of course, was the art teacher, so I like the crafts. I like the crafts. And Bible school was great, but she
Recreation.
Of course.
Yes, of course.
Playtime. That was what was my favorite part, Pastor Alberto.
Now, I know it was a long, long time ago. Did you have a favorite teacher or someone who was a worker at VBS that really meant a lot to you that you still even think about today?
Mm-hmm.
Again, it was my mama.
Mom, okay.
Miss Martin, I thought her name was Martha, but my sister said it's not Martha.
I taught Martha.
But it was Martha's older sister, evidently, and I'm sorry, we can't remember her last name, but she was my favorite. She comes to mind when I think of VBS because she taught us the Bible, but she allowed us to be kids, but had some boundaries for us, and had a lot of love.
I really don't remember a favorite. I remember sit down, stand up. I was not real good in church. I didn't listen real well, so I don't remember.
Confession time.
I guess it would have been the minister of music.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. That's right.
She was always good at brown-nosing. What can I say?
Okay. All right. Now, again, I know you've gone to VBS at least when you were a child, your whole life. So how did VBS affect you as far as your walk with Jesus? Anyone of you can answer that?
Me to go? Okay. I would say Vacation Bible School, the emphasis really is the Bible. So even though you may not always pay attention, because I wasn't the ideal preacher's kid either, those Bible verses, those Bible characters are registering in your mind in some shape, form, or fashion. Those seeds are planted. And through that has the thread of Jesus all through it. And so it helped lead me to a childhood conversion that I had.
I would agree with that. Seriously, though, it does put the Bible verses in your head and the people. So he's right there. He's right.
Well, see, I'm the oldest, so I went to the revivals and the Bible schools and a lot of things. And so they all, I mean, y'all did too. But back in those days, Bible school was 2 weeks long, and revivals were 4 times a year. Yeah. And so all of it, I became a Christian very early because all of that made an impression and taught me Jesus was just right here.
Now, there might be some folks in here today who aren't Jesus followers. Mm-hmm. They came for whatever reason, they were passing by, or they came to see a child in the singing
Right.
earlier.
Right.
What would you say to them about what it's like? What has it meant to you in your life to be a Jesus follower?
Well, I've prayed and thought about that a lot before I got here today. My salvation was early, and my mother had taught us, it was a revival, and my mother had taught a lesson that morning. It was a Sunday morning, and we had pictures then, and there was a picture of Jesus. It was a road, and one side was Jesus, and one side was Satan. We even had a picture of Satan on it. And so, back in the old day when it was the devil with a red tail and everything. And so, and she said that morning, you're going to have to come to a decision one day. Either you're going to follow Jesus or you're going to follow Satan, which today we're going to say the world. And that's going to be the world. Everything Jesus represents, which is asking him what he wants you to do. Lord, I want to live for you. You don't come to that overnight. Or you're going to just do whatever the world says do. I want to do what you want me to. I just want to do what the world does, whatever that is. And so that day that was the revival pastor, I used to call him my bald-headed buddy because he was my daddy's friend and he was bald-headed. And so I could feel in my spirit Jesus saying, I want you to live for me. I was little, but like I said, I grew up in this church and I went to church all the time. It was a little country church. And I walked down the aisle and my daddy said, whoa, because I hadn't talked to him. He wouldn't let the church vote on me because he said, I haven't talked to her yet. And so all afternoon, he and my bald-headed buddy talked to me and said, do you know what you're doing? Do you talk? I said, Daddy, I want to live for Jesus. I want to live for him. I do know. He wants me to live for him. And so it was real to me. And there are times in your life, and I appreciate the pastor who when our children made a decision, said, now you will doubt because they were young. If this is real, he said, don't let that bother you. I'm talking to you today. You've answered my questions. It is real. But Satan's going to come and ask you, say, this isn't real. You don't mean this. And so, but you do. You know what you're doing today. Just keep following Jesus. It'll be okay. And so that's the way it's been in my life. And I've written a book that's taken forever. And so, but in it, the whole gist of it, part of it is to live a holy life. And I was watching these children and I thought, and even in the book, it's about why would I want to live a holy life? Good grief, that sounds really boring. But it's not. It's about living like Jesus. And if you live like Jesus, you avoid so many things that you don't have to live. I mean, and even if you do have mess in your life, he wipes them clean. And you start living like he does. You have his love, and that's what we were taught. Our parents taught us how to love. And it's so much better because mess is going to come into your life. But if you know how to love people and have a good time, when we go places, we laugh. You know my brother. And so we just laugh and have a good time. And people have often said, y'all, we know where y'all have been. Y'all are drunk. And we're like, no, we just have a good time. We don't need to do that. We have a good time. When you've lived a life with Jesus and he loves you and you know it, you just can have a good time. And you don't have a lot of, you're just trying to be like him.
Right. Pastor Hal?
I don't even remember what the question was. Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
as a Jesus follower, you've been walking with Jesus. You know, there might be some folks here who haven't been walking with Jesus and want to know what that's all about or how your life has been walking with Jesus. What would you tell them?
Yeah. I would say he's my best friend. I've been blessed with wonderful parents and sisters that loved me unconditionally, and just been reminded of that this weekend and just now. But I've also been blessed with some great friends that put up with me too. and that mean a lot to me over the years, all over the place. But there's one constant, regardless of people, because we're depraved. We let people down, and others let us down, and it's Jesus. I can always talk with him. His love is unconditional, and I sense his presence because the Holy Spirit, when you trust Jesus, that deposit is in your life, and he seals you, the Bible says, and I just know he's there, and he's with me, and the rock is solid. He's solid no matter what. So.
What would you add to that, Miss Karen?
Well, I became a Christian when I was 9 at the Gulf Shore Baptist Assembly, and my family would go there for a family conference, and so we went, and that's where I became a Christian. Of course, Daddy talked to me before Sunday to make sure I knew what I was doing, and I did, and I joined. But there have been a lot of times that I've wondered, am I really? Because of things that happened in my life, I doubted. But I always came back to God was saying, yes, you are. Just recently, I was in a pool, my sister's pool, and there was a butterfly flying around, and he wouldn't land on my finger. I had my finger out. I said, come on, come on. Finally, and I know you're not really supposed to do this, but I said, God, if you still love me, and I'm still your child regardless of all my mistakes, please let that butterfly land on my finger. I need that. And he did. And I said, awesome. All right, God, I know you're there. And so, but inside I know God's there, and he lets you know that in spite of everything. And yes, God doesn't promise us flowers and roses along the way. I had someone tell me one time, boy, I'd hate to know that I had to live by a list of rules in a book that you don't even know who wrote it for sure. I said, you don't get it. I said, it's not a list of rules. When you become a Christian and you let God take over, you want to do these things. It's not that anybody tells you that you have to. I promise. And he just didn't believe that. But that's what you want to do as a Christian. And our parents did. They definitely showed it. Love and people. And that's what life is all about. And you forgive. My goodness, look at this crazy world now. People don't forgive, and they judge, and we're not supposed to do that. We're supposed to let God take care of all that. So, yes, God is real, and he helps.
Amen. Well, I'll tell you what, it's been fun getting to know these ladies a little bit, and a little bit of Pastor Hal. And I don't know if you can tell, but you see a common thread running through all of this. Yes, we had fun watching the kids do VBS. We had fun listening to their stories about VBS and how the VBS Vacation Bible School, what's the word I'm looking for? Theme? What? No, not theme. But how Vacation Bible School touched them and all the things they had to do as they were growing up. The common thread is Jesus. And no matter what struggles, they talked about struggles they had, God is there. Jesus is there walking with them through it. No matter what pain, even in the struggle, the good times, God is there walking with them through it. So I want us to do something, if you don't mind. Would you just give them a hand and thank them for telling their story this morning? And now I'm going to turn it over to Pastor Hal.
Just put it on the pew down there. Okay, here's what I want to do to just summarize everything. Our children sang the song, Sin Messed Everything Up. And so hopefully we've realized that we're all sinners, all of us. The Bible says all have sinned, fall short of the glory of God. We've all sinned, sins of commission, sins of omission. But the answer is found in Jesus. You can't be good enough. Some people say, well, I'm just not ready. I got to clean some things up. That's like trying to get cleaned up before you get in the shower or the bathtub. It just doesn't work. You'll never be cleaned up enough. He's the one that does that. So you've got to be willing to admit your sin and put your faith in Jesus. And I just want to tell you that if you've never done that today, when we stand just in a minute and we start singing, we have people that will talk with you just like they did our children. People come to Jesus at all different kinds of ages, okay? We have some adults that are about to be baptized, okay? So if you've never put your faith in Jesus or you're doubting, when we stand and start singing, please come see Pastor Rick, come me. We have counselors, people that will not embarrass you, make you feel weird. They'll just answer your questions and help you personally put your faith in Jesus. Now, here's the other part of the invitation. The other part of the invitation is, along with these 2 or 3 that are going to be baptized, either outside, if it's not lightning, or there, and you'll see it on the screen. If you've never been baptized, you know you put your faith in Jesus, but you've not followed through with that important step. It's kind of like I'm wearing this because I'm not ashamed of Vacation Bible School. I'm letting everybody know. The Bible says you're to be immersed, you're to be a part of the team, and you let everybody know by being baptized. You don't say a word, you just go through the waters. And so if you've never been baptized, you may or may not join this church, but you've never been baptized, we'd love the opportunity to baptize you biblically. And you just come and talk to us, and we'll help you, okay? So let's stand, let's sing, and let's obey God.